Robbie just said there about it being like friendly games. So for me, the way that it looks to me, and I know I'm gonna probably make people laugh and I'm gonna annoy people a little bit, but it reminds me of the Nation League, because the Nations League is a new system, and this is what this looks like. It looks like it's been brought in to play games, to be competitive but not really competitive because you haven't got relegation. And nothing really happens in it, and it's just a carbon copy, but a league format instead of a national format. The whole thing just doesn't make sense.
So, yeah, let's switch completely to the Super League stuff then. So, from what I've read, there's X amount of teams who've agreed to go into it from various leagues. Bayern Munich, Dortmund, Porto have all said no. The top six, traditional top six, if you like, of the Premier League have said yes. Madrid, Barcelona, the Milan teams have all said yes. So the concept is those teams cannot ever be relegated out, or they're always in this league. Then there's 5 spots which can be earned by teams around Europe each season to go into it, and they play. There's 2 groups. They play each other home and away. And then it goes into like a knockout stage, I think, with the top 3 of each league. And then there's like a playoff between the 4th and 5th teams from each group. And then it goes into a traditional knockout tournament. But it's played between, I think it was like May and August or something. So it's right after the season would start, because supposedly the teams involved in it, they don't want to pull out of the domestic league and stuff. Bear in mind, Man United didn't play in the FA Cup 1 year because they had a World Club Championship. But you're telling me that these teams, year after year, are going to play a full season of 4 tournaments, those top teams, you know, the league, the Champions League, whatever, all a full season. Then they're going to play May till August in this Super League, and then they're going to go and play international football every 2 years in the Euros or the World Cup. It's not going to happen. So something's got to give. Just, you know, even if you don't include things like, you know, who's going to be banned and who's going to be stopped from playing where, just on paper, that's not going to work. We're already talking, and regularly, about with COVID, where you've had the back-to-back seasons, and then you got the Euros, and then you got the World Cup. There's no break for like nearly 3 years. But now they want to put this extra league in, which is supposedly going to be the best of the best. It's not, is it? Because if FIFA say if you play in the Super, well, this is it. They've announced today that the Champions League has got a new format on the same, you know, the same weekend that they're talking about this crap. But the other thing,
define side. Define. You said just then traditional top 6. Yeah. Right. Tottenham. Sorry, never won the Premier League. Yeah. Never won the Premier League. Never looked like winning the Premier League, by the way. You know what I mean? They haven't even been anywhere near close. You know what I mean? You look at Leicester City. Leicester City won the Premier League. They're top 4. They're top 4. We season normally see a couple of times. They're in the top 6 now. They look like they're going to finish 3rd or 4th this year. You know what I mean? What right does it give Spurs as a football club? And I'm not just picking on Spurs, by the way. I can say about Arsenal this season stuck at 9th. You know what I mean? Robbie's an Arsenal fan, and he's already said his frustrations this season already. That what gives them club there a top 6 club now, because they've had a good history in the Premier League? It doesn't work like that, unfortunately. Teams evolve. No. Clubs have more money. You look at Leicester City's money, what they've got, what they're generating. The money what West Ham United are generating as a football club because of the big stadium. It drives me mad. You know what I mean? Everton. You know what I mean? If these teams don't stay in the Premier League, for example, and the breakaway, and they don't play in the Premier League, then we're going to have a Premier League which is not going to be worth the paper it's written on.
Yeah, it's going to be the equivalent of the Scottish League, isn't it?
Yeah, we're going to have basically Everton. We're going to have Everton, Leicester, and West Ham fighting for the title. You know what I mean, Robbie? How would that make you as a football fan to see? Would you watch Premier League football if that was the biggest game on the season? Which is what? Is that appealing to you as a fan or as a player?
No, not at all. You just you want to be in the biggest games, and if they're not going to be in the league and stuff like that, then it's like Sunday, like you get the Super Sunday games and stuff like that. You know, like when you have like Derby weekend, you've got like Man United, City, Liverpool, Everton, and you've got Arsenal, Tottenham all on the same weekend. You're like buzzing for the weekend. But when you've got like Everton, West Ham, and then the next biggest game, you've got Leeds versus West Brom or something like that. You're like, it just doesn't make any sense. But I just think it goes down to the whole American concept, where it's like all the teams are franchised because of money. No one can get relegated. No one can get promoted, but yet they're still making millions. And it's relegation and promotion is all part of football. That's where like the heartache of the last day of the season is like one of the best days or one of the worst days of the season. And it's amazing to watch as a player and as a fan. It's amazing to watch. But these games in the Premier League are just going to be awful. They'll just be awful.
I totally agree.
Robbie,
it makes a mockery as well, though, Si, of the Premier League. So look at Norwich City, right? Norwich City have had the best weekend in a long time. They got themselves promoted from the Championship. They're looking forward to the next season. Then all of a sudden, a day later, they hear this news. Their money from the Premier League could be cut somehow, because if this decision, the Premier League might hold some of this money back. So that could affect their livelihood, the amount of players they can bring in, the squad size they can do. You know what I mean? The support. I just think it's so disrespectful to all these kind of clubs like Norwich City, like Bournemouth. You know what I mean? Like Barnsley. You know what I mean? Barnsley potentially could be in the Premier League next year, and it might be an absolute disgrace and a waste of time. You know, I just think why are we even looking at it? You know what I mean? Even the Gary Nevilles and the Jamie Carragers and all the ex-Gary Linekers, they're all totally against it because they know what damage it's doing to modern day football, and that's why other countries, Germany for example, if anybody follows Jan Fjortoff on social media, he's very outspoken, and rightly so, by the way, because he runs his own TV channel over there in Germany, where he's living, has decided that the big teams aren't following suit. And do you know what? I respect them so much for that, because that just shows solidarity. It shows respect for football and for players and for fans. They're not thinking about the money. They're not thinking of that. They're thinking of the Champions League. They're going to win the Champions League season after season, because there's going to be no decent sides in it.
Well, so you know what's going to happen. So obviously, when I was speaking then about the long seasons, that I was going like on the sort of hypothetical where no one's banned from doing anything, that everyone can just do what they're planning. So, but realistically, FIFA have already said if you play in this Super League, you won't be allowed to play international football for your country. So straight away, we were talking about Harry Kane earlier. He's 28, wants to win trophies, wants to do well. He's the England captain. Is he going to stay at Spurs for a bit of extra money and play in the Super League, or is he going to move to Paris, get the same money, play in the Champions League, and play for England? It's a no-brainer. So what you're going to find is Paris, Bayern, the traditionally big clubs who aren't in the Super League will get all the best players, because the bigger or the top clubs in the English league, if you take out the traditional top six because they're relegated or banned or whatever, what's left won't be able to afford the best players in Europe. So all those best players are only going to go to a handful of clubs. It's just that now that handful of clubs is a lot bigger. So it's going to be a massive problem for the Premier League as a brand as well.
On that point, though, you know what I mean? We've got a current player here on the show. You're talking about players and you talk about money. You know what I mean? That Harry Kane could leave Tottenham Hotspur on 250 grand a week. He could go and sign for West Ham on the same, because they've got the money, they can afford it, and they're playing in the Premier League. So, for me, players are going to get 20 million, 30 million contracts over 4 or 5 years. It's absolutely fine. They're going to get it in the Premier League. They couldn't get it in Norwich City. It's irrelevant. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but the TV rights might not be there, so they might not have the money in the Premier League. Is my point. If you haven't got this money,
if the players don't want to. If the players don't want to be there, and the players don't want to play in these kind of tournaments, they won't do it. They'll vote with their feet, and they'll put a transfer request in, because Sky Sports have bought the rights for the Premier League for the next so many years. So for this league, and it'd be interesting who does get it. Robbie, what's
it's
your
going to be
thoughts
fascinating to watch
on players or player power? You know what I mean? Do you think players will vote with their feet and not want to play in this Super League, or do you think players want to play at that kind of level week in, week out, game after game? Enough?
No, I think they'll vote against it. I really do. I think once you take international football away from them, I think they'll just vote no. I think that's what the Champions League's for. You know, you get all these players who let's say at United and they miss out on the Champions League and they make Europa League. All you ever hear is, Pogba wants to play Champions League. He wants Champions League football. Like, you've got it there. Like, it's there. Your club is now taking it away from you. And it, like you said, it's like they might get 50 grand a week more. These are multi-millionaires, like, already. Like, let's be honest, like 200, like 300 grand a week, it ain't gonna make a difference. Like,
no,
like it's just so much. It's just great.
Players don't think of that side. You said there about who put the comment on it was Sky will renegotiate the deal.
Yeah,
I'm telling you now, there's no way in the world, because I tell you now, the football clubs will sue Sky Sports. They'll sue them for
depends
money
how
back.
the contract's written, doesn't it? If it's based around those top 6 clubs,
but
they have the most games, don't they?
Though. Yeah, but the one who spoke about this though, this won't be in the contract. There's no way in the world that it's been discussed. No way, because this has been done between the top 6, because nobody's known what's going on. Nobody's spoke about this for years. This has been a talking point when Fergie was manager in '98.
They've been talking, haven't they?
Just coming in.
Sneaky.
Yeah, they've been talking. The top 6 have been talking, and this is where it becomes underhand. This is where it becomes disrespectful to the rest of the Premier League, because you've got a game, let's say West Ham at home to Everton, for example. You know what I mean? And you're inviting people from the board into your home, into your boardroom. How disrespectful is it that you're talking to someone and they've been talking behind your back and they've stitched your football? Yeah. They've ruining football, and they're absolutely killing it for fans, for the supporters, for neutrals, for people who talk about it, for players, just for everybody, and even for their own players and their own organisation, because it's not for me, you know, because there's more travel. It's rubbish for me. Robbie,
if I'm a supporter and I'm like, yeah, well, you know, just do the Super League, whatever, and like, now COVID's hit and it's a global pandemic, and money around the world is so much harder to come by for everyone. People are losing their jobs and everything like that. Like, how do you afford, like, when supporters are back, like, how do you afford to keep going?
Yeah.
Abroad, like, how do you keep doing it? I don't understand how you'll keep doing it, and then it won't be long before you get, like, you'll see Arsenal play Barcelona, but it will be in Saudi Arabia.
Yes.
Yeah. Totally
100%.
agree. Totally agree. And that's what it's going to be. Say every game will be in China, or every game will be in Saudi, or every game will be in Abu Dhabi.
100%.
And that's where they're going to make the money. It won't be home and away. It'll be neutral. Every game will be neutral.
Yeah, spot on, mate. I wanted to put these 2 questions to the both of you just to finish the subject off, really. First question is, do you think, now, bear in mind that football clubs make the majority of their money from TV rights and things like this. They don't make the majority of their money, like I'm talking the top 6, don't make the majority of their money from fans and people going to the ground. It's stuff away from that. Do you think that COVID and the last year showing that football can function on TV and be presented, and it can be good, and you can edit in crowd noises and things like this, do you think that has given them a bit of confidence that they can go and do this Super League, even if their fans, like for each club, are not on board with it? That's the first question. Andy, what do you reckon?
I think the football clubs think that they can do this without the fans. They don't care if they're there or not. You know what I mean? I think Robbie just said it there about every other week's going to be an away game, or every week could be an away game, depending on how they do it. If every other week's an away game and you go to Barcelona this Saturday, and then in 2 weeks you go to Real Madrid, then 2 weeks you go to a team then that comes with a cost. So supporters won't turn up. You know what I mean? You're going to have to watch it on TV, which probably comes at a cost again. They don't care about that cost. They just care about them picking up that kind of money. You know what I mean? I believe if it does happen, every game will be in a certain country. So every like the Grand Prix, that it'll go on a circuit. So everywhere it'll be something else, a different game somewhere else, over a weekend. You know what I mean? At different times, same pitch, same ground. And for me, I don't think it can happen. I don't think we can allow it to happen. I think there's got to be some kind of sport, you know what I mean, to stop this from happening. You know what I mean? But for me, to answer your question, they can do it because they don't need fans. They don't need fans to make this happen, unfortunately.
And Robbie, I wanted to put this to you as well, is if they decide to go ahead with it, and the fans of the individual clubs just, they say they're not going to go, but they just go ahead with it anyway, and the Premier League or FIFA, UEFA, all of them say to those football clubs, you cannot compete in the Champions League, the Premier League, whatever. What sort of impact is that going to have on the playing squad at Man United? Like, to me, it doesn't feel like there's enough money that you could offer those players to just play Super League football, which has got no competition aspect to it other than winning the league. There's no relegation, there's no promotion. It's just the same teams over and over again. Like, what sort of, I guess, mindset would the players have if they've been kicked out of everything else?
Mindset would just be, you just get players like the ones who went to China. You'll just get players like that, you'll get...
Bang on.
You just get bang average Premier League players who want to make it, who just want to make as much money as they can, retire, and then that they're happy. You get players who want competition. Football is about competition. You want to be fighting for the Champions League and qualifying for Europe and stuff like that. It's like when you get a team in the Premier League, like Leeds have come up and you're like, Leeds could potentially make Europe, on their first time back in the Premier League. That's like special, and it's almost being taken away. It's because the teams are leaving. It's like, it's just a one-off season for Leeds, and it doesn't matter. These teams are going, but the players, like Harry Kane and stuff like that, they'll all leave. Pogba will leave United because it's a pointless competition unless his agent keeps him there and his agent's getting a payoff from it. And then, I just think the top players who have enough about them will just leave and will just go to, like you said, Paris Saint-Germain, Bayern Munich, Dortmund, proper clubs.
Do you know what? I couldn't have put it any better myself. Robbie, what an answer, by the way. Do you know, from a player who sees that competitive aspect of playing, that's one thing that when I retired, that you don't train in competitiveness. I'm talking about, and then that match day where you're competitive and you want to try and beat someone else and want to try and get up the table. And if you haven't got that, it becomes. I watched the MLS last night late. I watched 2 or 3 games yesterday. I don't get it because it doesn't matter.
I struggle to watch the MLS, mate. I got to be honest, because
same as the A-League. There's no competitiveness. There's no, it doesn't matter if you're bottom of the league because next season you can come back stronger and you can give up with 5, 6, 7 games to go. And I just think it's so. I can't let this happen. We can't let it happen because Robbie mentioned it earlier on about franchise. That's what it seems like, and the figures that are getting spoke about is 300 million. If you're franchised in the MLS, it's 300 million. It's like the Premier League now, or the Super League now, is 300 million. It's like the Super League towards the MLS and making it a franchise that you buy into it. And if you want to get relegated or you want to come into it, you can come into it, but you pay 300 million quid. You know what I mean? And that money gets shared around everybody else, and there's a voting system. And for there's got to be more than that. As a player, because like Robbie mentioned earlier on, and we've all mentioned, players are going to get paid regardless. Players are multi-millionaires regardless of this league or not. You know what I mean? That if they get relegated, some of them from the Premier League, they're still millionaires. If they're mid-table Premier League, Europa League, listen, FA Cup. I watched Leicester make their first FA Cup final yesterday. These are the kind of things that I want to see as a football fan, as a neutral. I don't want to see and listen to all this rubbish. What's being touted around. I want to see West Ham getting in the Champions League. I want it to be a big achievement.
Yeah, that's it. Well, mate, we haven't even talked about the impact on the pyramid and, like the Championship and League 1 and League 2. Maybe we could talk about that on Friday because I do want to move on, but I just want to address one comment. Gavin just said, Klopp won't have this Super League crap. He's got too much passion for the club and the fans. 100% he would leave first. Well, Liverpool are in it, so I guess he's got a decision to make. Are you saying, Gavin, that the Liverpool owners have made this decision without speaking to the manager? Because if you saw Solskjaer's interview yesterday, where he said, I know nothing about it, I'll have to look into it before I can make a comment. 100% he knew it was coming, 100% he knew that his club was involved, and if any of those clubs have kind of decided they're going in the Super League without at least giving the manager a heads up, then of course that manager's going to have a look at whether he's in the right job, because it's common sense, isn't it, really, I suppose, that they would speak to the manager of the football club. But so it'd be interesting, mate, because players,
Simon,
managers, everyone's
you-
got a decision to make, haven't they? Whether they go or they don't, if it goes ahead.
Could you not then put 2 and 2 together and come up with 5 with Mourinho? That Mourinho's lost his job today after that
Because he didn't want to go with it.
So
Well,
Mourinho
he has said
didn't want
he
to go with it.
doesn't want it.
And you know what I mean. So Mourinho didn't want it. He's had an argument with the owner, and all of a sudden he's lost his job. And he's got a cup final coming up for the weekend. For me, I think there's a bigger picture.
That
There's
makes
too much
sense.
involved to say that. It does make sense, but until we know the evidence, until we know,
Of course.
you know, I mean, it's not a results. For me, it's not a results. I don't think you can do that because there's worse teams in the Premier League at the minute. For me, that has got to be the underlying. You know, didn't want to be in it, and he's threatened to walk. So Daniel's just sacked him anyway.